And kind of where I'm at is I'm newer into this political foray, but to me, you can say, well, I don't want to be involved in government. Well, government wants to be involved in your life, so you better get involved in its life. And I believe that's where we are, that the government has overstepped its bounds. It's gotten into our lane, and particularly with COVID and stuff, telling us to shut the churches. Well, they had the abortion clinics open and the weed stores open and the strip clubs open. And when they were telling us that we couldn't get together and worship, but you could scream and yell and riot in the street. And when they were telling us that you need to get a jab if you want to keep your job, stuff like that. No bueno, not a fan at all. And so there's a time where you got to stand up, you got to push back and say, you know what, your job is to secure our liberty, not to remove and eradicate them. So I decided to get kind of loudmouth on it this year, and I'm not done. So if you'd like a free copy of Vote Like Jesus, it's a book I wrote. Some who were present there, including some evangelical leaders, were kind enough to tell me they read it and it helped them. If you're one of those pastors that hasn't yet said something, you've still got a weekend coming up. And what I would tell you is you're a shepherd. And a shepherd's job is not just to love the sheep, but also to fight the wolves. And if you're going to be a good shepherd, you can't just hug the sheep and the wolves. You got to hug the sheep, and you got to tell the sheep who the wolves are, and you got to be willing to have a little conflict with the wolves. The problem with most pastors, seminaries, and Bible colleges that train them, as well as networks and denominations that ordain them, they're built for peacetime, not wartime. So you're taught, well, here's how you love the sheep. Well, if you really love the sheep, you got to know what to do with the wolves. And this is where you got to be clear. You got to preach. You got to teach. You got to define. There was recently a report that came out that said 80% of Christians wish their pastors had more courage in the pulpit and would open the Word of God and give them a biblical worldview to interpret the events that are happening every day on the news, including those going into the election. So, Pastor, it's not too late for you. And I'll give you a free copy of Vote Like Jesus. They'll put it in the comments. I'll give you my sermons, my notes, my clips, my reels. I'll give it all to you. Just try. Just try and give your people a biblical worldview through which to, and just pick a few issues. Pick Israel, pick abortion, pick safety and security for human life and flourishing, which then would implicate open borders. Talk about stewardship and economic policy versus national debt. Talk about the Bible is not a big fan of socialism, where the government redistributes poverty by taking it from people who know how to make it and giving it to people who only know how to spend it. You could talk about gender issues, marriage. You could talk about sexuality and mores and the aggressive sexualization and mutilation of children. Just pick an issue, man. Pick an issue. And make your voice known and tell your people to go out and vote, because they make a difference and it matters. And